Carol was invited.
What's up, guys? I'm gonna be doing this bright side riddle test. Like and subscribe. I'm doing these videos. Press the notification. You want to do this riddle with me? Let's get right into it.
To a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was one door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door, there was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controlled the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches however she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. Sometime later, she managed to get it right. How did Carol do it?
She must have pressed 2. It has to be the middle button, right? Makes sense, 2 doors, so I might just press the 2 button.
Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1, then waited for a few minutes. Then, she flipped it back to off and immediately flipped switch number 2. Then, she opened the door and checked the light. It was turned off. So she realized it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. She decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb was cold, it would mean that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled it. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measured 7 minutes, and the other measured 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned over both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute hourglass was done, the other one still had 3 minutes left. Carol flipped the 4-minute hourglass over again. By the time the 7-minute hourglass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other hourglass. And by the time the 4-minute hourglass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand in the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute's worth of sand in the top part of the hourglass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes had passed in total. Phew, that took some work. Someone stole a rare diamond from Mrs. Monica Fraser's house. Mrs. Fraser claimed she'd walked into her bedroom one morning and found that the glass box in her dressing room had been broken and the diamond had been gone. She called a detective, who soon arrived at her place and asked some questions. Based on his inquiries, he gathered 3 suspects. Mrs. Fraser's gardener, Steve, had the key to the house. Her cousin Sophia was staying with her for the week, and the cleaning lady, Adeline, cleaned the house every day. Steve said he was on holiday that week, so he wasn't anywhere near the house when it had happened. Sophia said she didn't even know her cousin had a diamond hidden in her house. And Adeline said that she'd been cleaning the house at around 10 p.m. the previous night. Everything had seemed all right. Who stole the jewelry?
She doesn't look too confident. I'm gonna have to go with the 4 eyes, the glasses, dog.
It was the cleaning lady. It seems that right after she broke the glass and stole the diamond, she also wiped off the pieces of glass left on the floor.
Maybe she's just really good at hiding her nerves.
On a cold winter day, Jason woke up after a medical procedure. He was lying in bed when the doctor walked into his room, saying there were 3 women outside claiming to be his wife. All 3 of them wanted to see Jason, but only his wife was allowed to do so. Look at the women. Which one do you think is telling the truth?
I see the wedding ring. I see the wedding ring right in the middle. You see that on the finger?
The woman wearing a white shirt is the only one that has a ring on her left finger. She's the wife.
Well, of course.
It was a lazy Sunday morning, and John was having breakfast in the kitchen. Suddenly, he heard glass shattering. He walked into the living room and saw that someone had just broken one of his windows. He was mad and decided to go outside to see if he could find the culprit. There were only 3 people in the street, so he talked to each of them. The first was one of his neighbor's children. He was coming back from his football practice. holding a ball in his hands.
I see the
He said
newspaper.
he'd been
so it
going
must
home
be
at the time of the incident. The second person was
just
Steven,
left the clue.
John's neighbor and longtime friend.
I don't really
He
have
was
to say
carrying a
anything.
toolbox.
It's
The man said he decided to come home to fix John's window.
the
The
mailman
last person
for sure.
was Julio, a mailman. He was riding his bike,
same paper
throwing
right
newspapers
on
on
the-
people's front lawns. He said it had been hours since he'd passed John's house. Soon enough, John figured out who had done it.
See
How?
that? See that? You see the newspaper? It has to be that fool right there. It is.
It was the mailman. If you look at the lawn, the newspaper is lying on the grass beneath
Exactly.
the window. He threw the newspaper towards the mailbox, but missed it, and it hit John's window. Whoops. It was a stormy night. Kate and her boyfriend stayed up late watching a soap opera. In the middle of it, there was a weather forecast. The weather lady said it would keep raining for 2 more days, but in 72 hours, it'd be bright and sunny. Kate turned to her boyfriend and said that the weather lady was wrong, and the girl was right. Why?
Because you would keep raining for more. Look at it's barely any rain on it. It's mostly sun.
Because in 72 hours, it will also be nighttime. So it can't possibly be bright and sunny. It was Amelia's dream to go skydiving, but she was afraid of heights. One day, her friend took her to fulfill her dream. Amelia jumped from an airplane without a parachute and didn't get hurt. How is that possible? Forecast. It was wrong, and the girl was right. Why?
Let's see this.
So it can't possibly be heights. One day, her friend took her to fulfill her dream. Amelia jumped from an airplane without a parachute and didn't get hurt. How is that possible?
Because the airplane's still right there. It had not went above ground. It had not moved an inch, dog.
The plane wasn't flying. It was still on the
Exactly.
ground.
Right,
Duh.
right.
Dave, an archaeologist, traveled to Egypt on a very special mission. He spent days excavating ruins hidden under the sand. And the only thing he found was a coin marked 10 BCE. When he showed it to his colleagues, they told him the coin was a fake. Why?
CBD. It's not a thing. Okay, it's not a thing.
Well,
It's
because
not
the
a thing.
designation BCE didn't appear until after the
Right.
beginning of our era.
Right.
It was raining when Mrs. Moore called the police. She said someone had just bumped into her car and driven away. When the police arrived, the only person next to the place of the incident was a man fixing his tire. Mrs. Moore said that that was the car that had bumped into hers. However, the gentleman said that it couldn't be true because he'd been busy fixing his car the whole time. Can you tell who's lying?
Okay, think about it. That so. I don't
It's
know.
the guy fixing his car. The rain started just recently. If he'd been fixing his car this whole time, the ground underneath it would be dry. But look, it's wet. This means he's just arrived there and is actually the one responsible for the incident.
Right.
4 friends decided to meet up for coffee one
That would've took me
afternoon.
days to figure that out.
Someone asked which one of them was the oldest, and they answered with a riddle. Mia is 3 times older than Anna, but 3 years ago, Anna was a year younger than Claudia is now, and Olivia is twice as old as Anna. So can you put the girls into order by age?
So Anna would be first. And So
The correct order is Mia, Olivia, Anna, and Claudia. Here's a quick one. What
I had
belongs
it,
to you, but
backwards.
others use it more often?
The garage, the cow.
Your name. Outside a fancy palace, 2 sentinels were guarding the main gate. They were standing, looking in different directions, one towards the west and the other towards the east. At some point, one of the sentinels asked the other, "What are you smiling about?" How could he know that his colleague was smiling?
Because look at him, he's like jiggling around, like or something. I don't know.
Well, despite the fact that they were looking in different directions, they weren't standing back to back. They were facing each other. Kevin was away on business and had to spend the night in a hotel. After a full day of meetings, he returned to his room to get some rest. He went to bed but couldn't fall asleep. After tossing and turning in bed for hours, he called someone, didn't say a word, and then finally fell asleep. Who did Kevin call? And how could he finally fall asleep?
His friend.
He called the room next door, as his neighbor was snoring very loudly. The ringing woke the neighbor up, the snoring stopped, and Kevin managed to doze off. You've just come back from a long vacation. There, you bought a new suitcase to store all the new things you got, but you don't remember the code. Luckily, you left yourself a note on your cell phone to help you decipher the code to open the lock. 682. One digit is right and in its place. 614. One digit is right, but in the wrong place.
So one digit is in the right, so I'm gonna have to say 2. 1.
206. Two digits are right, but
2106. So it'll be
both are in the wrong place. 768. All digits are wrong. 380.
I got it.
One digit is right,
Yes, I
but
got
in
it.
the wrong place.
No, never mind.
What's the 3-digit code?
I think the one that's 8. Yeah.
042.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or
Well, I hope you guys liked the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe, press the notifications. Tell me what video I should react next later. Alright, peace.